Buying a turntable should be exciting, but most people end up overwhelmed before they even get to the fun part. There are so many options, so many opinions, and nobody's really laying it all out in a way that makes the decision feel simple. In this video, we're covering everything: what a turntable actually is, the different types, every component you need to understand, how to build a system around it, and how to pick the right one for your budget, whether that's your first turntable or your next upgrade. Vinyl is one of the most rewarding ways to listen to music, but only if your setup is working with you and not against you. So let's make sure you get it right from the start. There's a reason vinyl has made such a massive comeback, and it's not just nostalgia, although that's part of it. There's something about pulling a record off the shelf, dropping the needle, and actually sitting with the music that streaming just doesn't give you. Streaming is convenient, vinyl is intentional. It slows you down, and honestly, it sounds different. There's a warmth and a presence to vinyl that connects you with it the moment you hear it. That experience is what a turntable is all about. But here's the thing most people don't realize when they start shopping. A turntable on its own doesn't make any sound. It's not a speaker, and it's not an all-in-one system. It's the foundation, the piece that spins your record and lets a tiny needle trace the groove to pull music out of the vinyl. Everything else in your setup builds around it. And that's actually the first thing worth clearing up, because turntable and record player get used interchangeably, but they're not the same thing. A turntable is the component that spins the record. On its own, it doesn't have built-in speakers, and most models need some form of external amplification to be heard. Some turntables do come with a built-in phono preamp, but you'll still need speakers or an amplifier to actually make the music. A record player, on the other hand, though, that's an all-in-one unit. It's got the turntable, the speakers, and an amplifier all built into one package. Think of those old school stereo cabinets with the turntable that was placed strategically under the lid. That makes setup simple, but the trade-off here is that you usually get more limited sound quality and obviously fewer upgrade options down the road. Now, I already know what some of you guys are thinking. Why can't I just buy a record player with everything built in and skip all of this? And honestly, you can. If all you want is to throw on a record while you're cooking dinner and you're not worried about sound quality and performance necessarily, then an all-in-one might check that box. But if you care about sound quality, you want top-of-the-line performance, you're looking to build out that hi-fi system, and you must be because you're watching this video, then you're probably looking for something more than just a record player. And once you hear the difference between a proper turntable setup and an all-in-one with tiny built-in speakers, it's really hard to go back. So it's worth understanding what goes into this, even if your budget is modest, because a thoughtful entry-level turntable setup can outperform an all-in-one unit every single time. Now, a turntable has two core jobs here: spinning the record at a steady, consistent speed and letting that little teeny tiny stylus track the grooves with accuracy. That's it. But how well it does these two things depend on the quality of its components: the platter, the tone arm, the cartridge, and the base it sits on. And that's what separates a turntable that sounds okay from one that sounds incredible. So that's the foundation. From here on out, we're talking hi-fi turntables, and the first thing you'll need to decide is what type is right for you. When you start looking at turntables, two of the first decisions you'll run into are the drive type and the operation style. Let's start with drive type, because this one comes down to how the platter actually spins, and it affects everything from sound quality to maintenance. There are two options here: belt drive and direct drive. A belt drive turntable, like this Audio-Technica one right here, it uses a small motor that's placed away from the platter, and it's connected by a tiny rubber belt, which you can see right here. The motor turns the belt, and the belt turns the platter, and that's how your record spins. This design has been a favorite among audiophiles for decades because of how well it isolates the platter from the motor. That rubber belt isn't just spinning the platter, it's acting as a buffer, absorbing vibrations so that they don't make their way into the sound quality. It's a simple concept, but it makes the difference in what you end up hearing. The trade-off, though? You get lower torque, meaning that the platter takes a moment to get fully up to speed, and that rubber belt can stretch out and wear over time, leading to replacement. It's not expensive, but it's something to keep in mind with long-term ownership. A direct drive turntable, like this Technics one here, that takes a different approach. The motor sits directly underneath the platter, and there's no belt involved. This gives you higher torque and a very consistent speed, which is why direct drive turntables are the standard in the DJ world. That higher torque means the platter is less sensitive to outside forces and there's no belt to wear out over time. The trade-off here, though, is that because the motor is not separated and placed away from the platter, it can transmit vibrations that will affect the sound quality. Higher-end direct drive turntables, like the ones we carry from Technics and Audio-Technica here, they solve that problem by using internal shock absorbers and isolation engineering, but obviously that typically raises the price. So which one is better? Neither, honestly. I know some of you guys could argue otherwise for hours on end, but what it really comes down to is nothing more than personal opinion and what you prioritize in your setup. There's no wrong answer here. Now let's talk about operation style. This is about how hands-on you'll have to be with the turntable, and there are 3 options: fully manual, semi-automatic, and fully automatic. A fully manual turntable is the most common type seen here. It gives you complete control. You lift the tone arm, gently lower the needle, and when the record finishes, you lift it back off. Manual turntables will keep spinning at the end of a side with the needle sitting in the runout groove until you stop it. So that is a downside here because you risk damaging the stylus and the record if you walk away. It's the most tactile, hands-on experience that many vinyl enthusiasts enjoy, and some will even go as far to argue that it offers the best sound quality, but as with anything in the audiophile space, that's up for debate. Now let's move on to a semi-automatic turntable. This is the middle ground. Some features are automated and some are manual. You may lift the tone arm and gently lower the needle, but when the record finishes, the turntable handles the rest. The specifics vary by model. It may lift the tone arm and return it to its resting position, or just stop the motor. But the point here is that you don't have to sit and babysit at the end of every side. And then there's the fully automatic turntable. I bet you can guess what this one does. I'll give you a hint. Everything. The entire playback process is handled by the turntable, typically done with just the press of a button. You press that button, the tone arm moves into position, lowers the needle, and when that last track finishes, you guessed it, the tone arm lifts itself, returns it to its resting position, and the motor shuts off. You can literally press play and just walk away. So the question to ask yourself here is, how involved do you want to be? Does manually lowering the needle intimidate you? Because it kind of intimidates me. Will you be moving around, or will you be seated firmly in one place during your entire listening session? There's really no right or wrong answer here. It just comes down to matching your turntable to how you'll actually use it. So now that we know the types and operation styles, let's look at what's actually on the turntable itself. These are the core components you'll find on almost every product listing that each serve a clear purpose in your turntable's performance. So we're gonna start from the bottom up here. The plinth is the base that everything sits on. You can think of it as the chassis, but this is the core. Its job is to keep vibrations away from the tone arm and the cartridge. The feet right here, they do the same thing from the outside in, isolating the turntable from whatever surface it's on, whether it's footsteps, speaker rumble, or even a bumped shelf that can introduce vibrations. And good isolation keeps all of that out of your sound. Sitting on top of the plinth is the platter. This is where the record goes. And in the case of the 1300G, it's a pretty striking gold color. This is a heavier, well-machined platter that provides more stable rotation and better speed consistency. You can find them made from acrylic, aluminum, MDF, and even glass depending on the turntable. Now between the platter and your vinyl is the record mat. This is what protects the record surface from direct contact with the platter. Most turntables will include one, but it's also a common aftermarket upgrade. You'll see them in felt, rubber, cork, leather, and many different materials that can subtly affect sound. And now for everyone's favorite part, the tone arm. This is the pivoting arm that holds the cartridge and guides it across the record. Its job is to keep the stylus tracking the groove with precision. Tone arms come in different shapes, with the most common being straight, J-shaped, and S-shaped. You'll also see them made from different materials, including aluminum, magnesium, carbon fiber, and even wood. At the front of the tone arm is the head shell. This is what connects the cartridge to the arm itself. If it's removable, swapping cartridges becomes much easier, and that's a feature worth looking for if you know you want to upgrade down the road. And on the opposite end of the tone arm is the counterweight, which balances the tone arm and lets you adjust tracking force, which is how much pressure the stylus puts on the groove. Different cartridges require different settings, so the counterweight is how you dial that in. And speaking of the cartridge, this is where a lot of the magic happens. The cartridge is the small piece right here that's mounted on the underside of the head shell. And inside of it are either coils or magnets that convert the physical vibrations of the needle in the groove into that electrical signal. And that teeny tiny needle right here on the bottom of the cartridge is the stylus. And that right there is what makes contact with the record groove, and it's the only point of physical interaction between your turntable and your vinyl record. There are several types of cartridges that you'll see across the market, but there are two main types worth knowing. Moving magnet, or MM for short, is the most common type. The stylus is usually user replaceable and it offers high output. Moving coil, or MC cartridges, offer more detail and refinement, but they require a higher gain phono stage with MC compatibility, so they're typically more expensive to replace. Now, not all turntables come with the cartridge pre-installed, and not all of them allow you to easily swap cartridges later. Some use fixed or proprietary mounts that limit your upgrade options, so if upgrading really matters to you, just make sure that the turntable you're looking at supports standard cartridges. And for the final component worth mentioning, we've got the dust cover. It protects your turntable and records from debris, but it's not always included. Some are hinged, like this one here, and some of them are fully removable. If yours is the fully removable type where you have to pull it all the way on and all the way off each time you use it, just make sure that you have enough clearance above the turntable so that you can take it on and off easily. Same thing applies with the hinge so that you have enough space to pull it back or take it all the way off. All right, so you understand what a turntable is, you know the types and how they operate, and you know every component on the turntable itself. Now let's take a step back and let's talk about everything around the turntable, because you need a few more pieces to complete the signal chain. A turntable outputs a phono level signal, but that signal is very quiet, so before it can become music you actually hear, it needs to be boosted to what's called line level. That's what a phono preamplifier does. A phono preamp can live in a few different places. Some turntables have it already built in. Some receivers and integrated amplifiers have a dedicated phono input to handle it, and some powered speakers even include a phono input. Or you can just use an external standalone phono preamplifier, which gives you the most control over your system and upgradability in the future. But here's one rule to remember. You only want one phono stage in your signal chain. If your turntable already has a built-in preamp, connect it to the line level input on your receivers or speakers. If you're using a receiver's phono input, make sure that the turntable's preamp is bypassed. Most turntables that have a built-in preamp will have a switch for that. So with that in mind, there are three common setup paths that you'll see. A turntable with a built-in phono preamp straight to powered speakers. A step up would be a turntable into a receiver or integrated amp out to passive speakers. And then there's the full separates route, which is a turntable into an external phono preamp, into a dedicated amplifier, then into the speakers. More pieces mean more control and upgrade potential, but also more cost. Whether one of these paths is better than the other is up to you. What it does come down to is your budget, your space, how far you want to go in your setup, and just what you're looking for. At the entry level, you can expect functional components, often with a built-in preamplifier and typically a pre-installed cartridge. Everything that you need to get started without a lot of extra purchases. Mid-range turntables, they step it up with a better cartridge, more refined tone arms, and more room to upgrade over time. At the reference tier, you're getting premium materials and precision engineering, and typically these don't include a built-in preamp. So before you commit, ask yourself a few things. Do you already have speakers and an amplifier, or are you just starting from scratch? Do you want something simple or something that you can grow into? Are you listening casually, or are you building a serious hi-fi setup? Do you need features like automatic operation? And is the included cartridge good enough, or should you factor in an upgrade early on? Run through these questions and you'll walk into that purchase with a clear picture of what you actually need. Here's what it comes down to. A turntable is an investment, and like any good investment, the more you understand what you're putting your money into, the more you'll get out of it. Know your drive type, understand the signal chain, pick the right features for how you actually listen, and you'll build a setup that sounds incredible and lasts for years. Whether you're unboxing your very first turntable or upgrading a setup that you've had for a while, the fundamentals we covered today apply at every level. If you want to learn more about these turntables, we've got two awesome videos for you to check out next. First, we dive into Audio-Technica's lineup of belt drive and direct drive turntables, and then jump over to Technics for direct drive precision. They're the perfect next step if you're ready to start narrowing down your pick and you just need to figure out which turntable is right for you. They're right here, check them out, and we'll catch you next time.